Well, Wes, Auburn is preparing to take on Kentucky on a Thursday night after its bye week. Obviously, there were some distractions last week with the Duke Williams saga and all the latest there, but we move on now to a game week where they're going to have to replace Duke Williams offensively, and there also may be changes at quarterback, starting where we're still in a little bit of a murky situation here this evening as to whether or not they're going to go back to Jeremy Johnson or Sean White. What's the latest there from what we heard from Rhett Lashley tonight?
Well, Rhett Lashley said tonight that both Johnson and White are still competing. They haven't made a decision as to who's going to start against Kentucky on Thursday. Obviously, they opened up the competition last week after the San Jose State game, and it seems to me, I don't know about you, James, it seems to me that they might be going with Johnson. I would say that we'll probably know for sure tomorrow morning, just based off of what Gus Malzahn has been doing this season in terms of big news like that. When he announced that White was going to be starting, it was on a Tuesday morning. Tomorrow they're moving up the press conference a little bit because of the short week. So I would expect that we will have an answer tomorrow on that. But for right now, it's just kind of still up in the air.
Yeah, I'd say you're right there. I would think that tomorrow we very, very well hear from Gus that there's a decision at quarterback one way or the other, and I tend to agree with you. I think they've been setting the stage here this whole last week plus for Jeremy Johnson to take the job back.
Yeah, Sean White, I mean, he hasn't really done necessarily anything wrong. I mean, he threw one interception. Other than that, he's just been more of a game manager. He hasn't really had, I don't think, full control of the offense. They haven't really opened it up to allow him to run what they were giving Johnson. But again, I mean, Sean White hasn't necessarily, he's played well for the most part, but it wasn't necessarily the plan going into the season. Obviously, they wanted Johnson to take this thing over and run with it.
Right, and Rhett Lashley had basically kind of intimated as much, not in as many words, but it said that this is going to be about who they feel gives them the best chance to win, and that Jeremy Johnson was someone who they felt most of their issues were mental on that side and not physical. And if they feel and felt before the season and even through the first 2 weeks of the season that Johnson was giving them the best chance to win, and it became more of a mental situation, so far all the coaches and the players last week had said was that there seems to be not necessarily a turning point, we don't want to go that far yet, but there's been indications to say that he has gone in the right direction there. So that's why we say setting the stage offensively. Defensively, addressing several issues. Will Muschamp is taking on soup to nuts with the defense, starting in the front four, where Casanova McKenzie obviously played at Buck last week, or I should say in the last game with San Jose State. We look to see that could probably repeat. He could play there. He could play back at linebacker, where Trey Williams is expected to return from his minor knee injury situation. So we'll see where Cass plays. That would be one part of developing a pass rush, which Will Muschamp spoke tonight and said they need to boost. They need to pick that up.
Yeah, that's his main concern right now. It seems like just winning those one-on-one battles and getting to the quarterback is something that Auburn struggled with last year. They've been struggling with this year, obviously, ever since Carl Lawson went out in the first half against Louisville. So, they've been trying with Casanova. They're even talking about bringing up Jontavius Johnson, who's a freshman. They're really just, Will Muschamp, the way that he has been operating the whole defense is, what have you done for me lately? That's just kind of been the approach. But it really seems like they're evaluating everything across the board right now.
Yeah, and with Johnson and Jontavius Johnson, that is, and Andrew Williams at defensive tackle, that would be more for run-stopping purposes, which has also been an area that they've had to address, that they want bigger bodies, maybe even different bodies if need be, on the interior of the defensive line to help there. It wouldn't be necessarily pass rush. They're looking at Jontavius Johnson mainly as a zero technique, which would be a straight nose tackle over the center when they're in a three-down line situation. So everything being examined both from a run defense, pass defense, etc., which is pretty typical for a bye week. They self-evaluation, looking at everything, etc. But when there's areas to address, and there are many for the defense, they are looking into everything. So defensively, lots to evaluate and see how they go about it personnel-wise come Thursday night, and offensively, we'll hope to hear quarterback-wise tomorrow.